Alrighty, folks. As you know, last year I went on a pretty amazing health journey, going from roughly 35% body fat to sub 16. I went from doing a measly 22 push-ups to 61, 3 pull-ups to 11, went from a 34 to a 30, extra large to a medium shirt. All kinds of things are looking better. And I saw that Ryan Pineda went out and partnered up on a health company. And I just had to say, what's going on? Ryan, what say you? What's going on, man?
Dude, I'm happy to be here as always, man. We've done so many different things together. So it's cool to talk about something different than real estate.
I agree. I think one of the things I want people to realize after my journey last year is everybody can do things. They don't even have to cause money to really get your life better. We are talking about building the dream life, and we never should forget about our bodies. Cole, you are new to the show. Tell the audience who you are and what you do.
What's going on, Michael? Thank you. Ryan, good to see you, brother. My name is Cole, and I am a business athlete. I believe that if you can build your body, it actually is a strategic tool for you that can accelerate your business, or for those of us who care about the people around us, it can accelerate our families. Everywhere we show up gets better. I get the opportunity to build this health business that's helped thousands and thousands of busy leaders get the body of their dreams. I'm also a partner in a few other successful multi-seven-figure businesses. And so I run health from a perspective of how do I get incredible results in the least amount of time in a way that optimizes the other area of my life instead of me being a professional bodybuilder. So love the body. I think it's an amazing tool to help us build our business.
I've never heard that term business athlete before. I think that is a very unique term and really is a good imagery because I do think we spend a lot of time, talking business, but we forget about the body. I want to start with something you guys call the 4 M's because it really kind of highlights, I think, things that are important. Let's break down each one, and I'll kind of tie it to what my audience would have seen the last year or so. Who wants to start? What are the 4 M's? Let's go one at a time.
Well, I'll lead off and just say to just give people some context. I started working with Cole's company about 3 years ago. And, I resonate with the athlete language because I was a pro baseball player and, now I'm a business guy. And I just know that when I'm in better shape, I perform better everywhere. Right. And Mike, I know it's happened for you the last year, just experiencing, just being in great shape. So, I've always loved fitness and just being healthy. And, I wasn't in bad shape. What ended up actually happening for me was I got with Cole's team 3 years ago and we did the second M, which is marker. And we'll talk about markers and everything else, but that's basically blood testing. And I got my blood test for the first time and I saw how deficient I actually was. I mean, my testosterone was super low. My stress levels were really high. There was stuff going on with my gut. I had parasites. I had a lot of negative things. And I looked on the outside pretty good. It's not like I was fat or out of shape. I just had a lot going on internally. I had no idea about. So I got with Cole's team. We got it all figured out. I became aware first and foremost. And then from there, we got on the right foods, the right plans and all this different stuff. And, I got in the best shape of my life. I did the opposite of you. I actually gained a shirt size. I went from a large to an XL because I just got stacked. And then, I dropped body fat and all that stuff. And then, him and I have been friends ever since. And then, so when the opportunity came to partner up, this year, I was like, bro, dude, let's take this thing everywhere we can go because, people need it.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up markers because that was the very first thing we did. I used a guy in Vegas, Dr. Jeff. He's been at my events a couple of times. So that was where we had to start. Right. And again, unlike you're in your 30s, you're still made of plastic. I'm in my 50s, so I'm kind of brittle. But the same story is true. I had to figure out what's going on in the inside. And, those results were shocking. I also got a DEXA scan, which is where I knew where my body fat was. And to see that I was at the 99 percentile for my height, the wrong 99 percentile is the wrong way. Right. So again, I definitely believe if you're, if you can afford the blood tests and they're not crazy expensive, you've got to get these markers done because otherwise you're just guessing. Cole, what do you think of that?
100%. I think just like in your business, you're not going to fly blind and make marketing decisions without data. I'm not going to just run ads for fun and say, let's just hope we get clients. You're going to make decisions based off of what's my cost per lead, what's the cost per acquisition, what's the cash conversion cycle, when am I getting this money back? You're not going to guess on all that stuff. But most people treat their body differently is just eat less, move more, and I'll be better. That's a good direction. Just like market more and sell more, and you're going to grow your business. But that doesn't actually solve the problem. And even worse, you could be in a place like Ryan is, to where, hey, I look incredible. I'm a stud, but then you open up the hood and realize, oh, there's some things that are going on underneath the surface I didn't even know, that not only can accelerate how you look on the outside, but more importantly, accelerate how you feel too and how you perform. And so I think, that data should drive your decisions, where most people just try to outwork their health, which is a good start. Doing more is a win, but when you can actually make data-driven decisions, it's significantly more impactful.
I want to double click there. I think if you're over 35, I'm just going to say it right now, get your blood work done. If you're in your 20s and you want to go do the outwork thing, fine, you're made of plastic. I don't care. But if you're 35 or older and have kids or a family, get your blood work done. You have no idea what's going on in the inside, and stuff could go way wrong, way fast. Just go get, you guys call it markers. That works for me. Get it done over 35. Agree?
Let me add to that, because I'm about to be 37 now. And
oh my God, you're ancient.
I know. And it was crazy because 3 years ago, I'm about to be 35 or whatever. And I'd never had a blood test, literally. Because I'm like, bro, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm good, all that stuff. And then I get my markers back and it's like, bro, no, you're not. You're just not. And what's crazy is I learned to perform at a high level in spite of that. And I think so many people listening to this perform at high levels in spite of, not being even close to optimized. And so, I'll never forget, one of the tests I did was a parasite test. And literally, once I found out I had that diagnosis, they gave me these antibiotics. I took them for 10 days. I kid you not, within 10 days, I felt night and day difference. And it was nuts because I was like, how long has this been going on? They're like, well, you get them on vacation in places like Mexico and other stuff. And they just stay in you. And most people have them and they don't even know. And I was like, dude, this is crazy, because I accepted that this is just like feeling normal, when in reality it's not. Once we got rid of the parasites, it was like literally my energy doubled. I kid you not.
Yeah.
And
your body's not fighting it anymore. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And that was just one thing that we found.
Yeah. And I think what people are shocked too, because it's not always you've got this life-threatening disease. It's just, hey, you may not be optimal. Ryan didn't even know that there was something wrong, but then fixing that made a big difference. Just like me, one of the gut health tests told me there's 2 foods to avoid: sweet potatoes and broccoli. These are really healthy foods, but my gut just didn't process them well. And I looked at the doctor and I said, is this a joke? Like, what do you mean these are healthy? But because I didn't process them properly, it affected my energy, my mental clarity. And so I think people you don't know if you don't. Ryan said it too. You might be in spite of something, you just don't know any better. And I believe your body can be a weapon or an anchor. You just get to choose. And a lot of people are successful dragging around this low energy, dragging around mental clarity, versus a weapon that, man, it's 6:30 here at night. I've been going strong since 6 a.m. I feel incredible. Like that's what you should be. And our doctors told me too, like after I started making some of these adjustments, I'm like, I feel incredible. And they're like, Cole, this is what normal feels like.
Yeah, it's what normal feels.
Like there's levels.
And then I'll tell you too. So like the parasites are one thing, finding out I had low testosterone is another thing. So then it becomes, okay, so how do you fix it? Right. And so, a couple of things that we talked about on my podcast, Zuber, was, peptides and TRT and different stuff. And I was like, man, I don't need to be doing any of this crap, dude. Like, I'm good. And then for real. And I was always like, if you watch my early podcast episodes, when I would get these guys in their 40s or 50s talking about it, I'm like, you just didn't take care of yourself. And, sure enough, I get my test and I'm like, I do take care of myself. How the heck is this even possible? And then, I start learning about these different peptides. And so I start taking them. Then, I get on TRT, and then it's just like night and day. I literally put on 15 pounds in like 90 days, of not, I'm not going to say it's pure muscle, but man, like if I showed you the before and afters, it was pretty stacked. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this is nuts.
Yeah. Obviously,
well, here's the thing,
like here.
Anything.
Go ahead, Cole. Go ahead.
I
was going to say,
here's the thing.
We're obviously talking here as 3 males real quick. We can't forget, 51% of the audience is women. I think it stands to be reason that 35 is still the marker for women too, right? If you're 35 woman, you need to get your blood work done just as much. I know several women Anna Kelly on my channel went through a health journey. It wasn't, and she's my age. She's 52, a year younger. She'd be mad at me if I said she was my age. And she went through the same thing, and she dropped 100 pounds. She'd been fighting her weight for 30 years. And once she got her blood work done, she did get on a specific GLP for her type and under the guidance of a doctor. And she dropped 100 pounds seemingly overnight because she got her hormones right. I mean, folks, get your blood work done. You have no idea. He's absolutely right. Anchor or engine, whatever the other one was. Again, don't carry around an anchor. It's not a good idea. Right, Cole?
Yeah, it's huge. Well, and I think too, if you've done any sort of personal development work, you've probably heard the phrase "your outer world reflects your inner world." And so, if I'm internally healthy, it exponentially affects my ability to be happy, to have a good life. But I think the same thing for your health too. If my internal processes are working right, my body tends to look and feel better too. But I can't do that unless I look under the hood. And so, it's huge. It's your gut health. It's your DNA, it's your hormones, like all of those things being optimal. And for females too, like you may think that testosterone is just a guy thing. It's not. Low testosterone affects women too. Your progesterone, your estrogen, all of those things affect your energy levels, your metabolism, your body's ability to lose fat and gain muscle, to sleep good. Like, it's all huge.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask, and I have no idea what the answer is, so that's always a risky question. Do you guys have somewhere on your website or someplace people can go and say, hey, these are the markers, the tests that we recommend? ABC. Is there kind of like men, women? Because again, I'm gonna guess they're slightly different. Is there a place people can go, or should they consult with someone first?
Yeah, typically it's a customized process. I think there's a basic answer we can give everybody. Let's start with some basic panels, but it also depends on what you're trying to solve for.
Okay.
If I just want to get healthy, that's a different answer than if I want to be fully optimal. Like there's a lot of different tests you can do. And so usually when we work with somebody, there's a basic hormone panel that we'd recommend. But when they start to say, hey, I've got weird digestive issues, like my brain's foggy all the time. My stool, my bowel movements are not that great. Okay, cool. We need to take a different test for that. There might be, so, typically anybody just needs to get the core blood work done. And we've got, I think 30 markers we start with. And then from there, but I think that it's the same male and female that we start with. And then you get more specific as you diagnose.
Yeah. And again, the body and who you are and what you're doing, what you're trying to get done, where you're starting from is different. So it makes total sense that, there's a consultation in there, but I do agree that there's got to be some kind of base level. So that makes sense. We obviously jumped ahead to the second M. What's the first M?
Yeah. The first one is mindset. And that might sound overly simple. It's like, okay, cool. I've got to have a better mentality. But really what we've learned, and I've seen this over and over with tens of thousands of clients, if I don't address this, then it does not matter what actions I take. I could, start a new nutrition plan. I could do 75 hard. I could try to be more disciplined. But if I don't fix how I believe about health, it's not going to change. It comes a lot from the book Atomic Habits from James Clear. If I change my belief systems or I change my identity, the activity or the behaviors follow. And I don't want just a short-term fix. I want something to be a lasting change. That's what most people mess up in their health is I can do a challenge, but then I quit afterwards. And so we try to address the beliefs behind it first and say, how do I see myself differently? How do I identify for us in our language, in our company? How do I believe I'm an athlete? Because if I believe I'm an athlete, then I'm going to train like one. I'm going to fuel like one. I'm going to sleep like one. And it's no longer trying to lose weight. I'm going to try to lose 20 pounds. I'm an athlete, so I train like one. As a byproduct, I look good, but that's not that's a byproduct. The goal is to just mirror my actions with the identity and the belief. That's where the long-term change happens. And so, for us wanting to get that locked in, it totally changes everything.
What I would say too, Zuber, we've talked about this, whether you were interviewing me or you on my show, I can't remember, but like my baseball background and how it affected business. And I can just tell you, like, I still see myself as an athlete to this day, even though I'm long retired. Well, I do get paid to play golf these days, and M19, but nonetheless, I still see myself as an athlete and I compete and I want to win and I want to raise my standards and all these things. And I heard a saying one time, I'll never forget it. Somebody said, man, you don't really rise to your aspirations, but you fall to your standards.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me because I was like, man, like you see people all the time who that maybe they get in shape for a period of time and then they're back out of shape. They put the weight back on a year later or months later or whatever, right? Like it really does take an identity shift to maintain whatever level of fitness you have. And so like for me, my standard is, dude, I'm not buying new clothes. Okay. I'm going to fit in these clothes and I'm going to have this level of fitness no matter what's going on in my life. I don't care if I just had my 4th kid. I don't know if I just started my 4th business this month. I don't care. This is my standard for how I am health-wise. Now, have I been in better shape than I am today? Yeah, I've been in better shape. Have I been in worse shape? Not really. Not in I have not been fat literally in my entire life. Because I've just always like had this standard of I'm an athlete, I'm a professional, this is what I do, and my body working the proper way, it secures my pay.
Right.
It absolutely did as an athlete. And I think it does today still as a business guy and as a guy on, social media. And, even if you're a salesperson or you're working a corporate job, how you look matters. It matters a lot. And how people see you and perceive you and respect you and all those things. So anyways, like I say all this because in the end, most people, unless you have an identity shift, if you've always been on this wave of like, sometimes I'm in shape, sometimes I'm out of shape, you have a mental mindset problem that needs to get addressed because it'll just be the same problem again.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a real life example for me in this year of health, right? Again, I've never proclaimed to be an athlete like Ryan or yourself, Cole. But at 30 to 35, I was going to CrossFit 5 times a week. I was in the top 5% of the world for my age group. So I was no slouch. But I used to measure my workouts by how long it took me to get off the mat. Seriously, if I wasn't getting off the mat 5 minutes after it was over, it wasn't a good workout. Now, taking that same attitude at 53 is probably the stupidest thing I could ever do. And it would have guaranteed a year of failure. I would have broken my body. My joints would have been effed up and my hunger, whatever, would have been all over the place. So what I'm trying to say here is at 53, I had to learn and understand via my mindset that, that's not the measure of a successful workout. It's 10,000 steps a day. It's hitting the gym for 30 or 45 minutes. It's 3 sets of, 10 to 12 or whatever it is. It's getting hypertrophy, but it's not peeling yourself off the ground. And at least for me, that was a huge mind shift because I was trained, the harder you work, the better you are, just doing CrossFit for 5 years. And I could not have done that at 53. I would have failed miserably.
No. Well, that's a mindset we often have to break from our clients, is that more is always better. A lot of what the markers will end up coming back, especially for high performing business owners, is that your cortisol stress hormone is through the roof. And if you work out really hard, really often, you're actually increasing cortisol, which is not all bad. There's a healthy amount, but people that are trying to burn body fat or get in better shape, if you keep driving that stress up, it actually destroys your metabolism. So you burn less calories, you're less healthy. And so we often have to tell people, hey, I need you to work out less. I need you to find recovery, just focus on your step. Like, it's crazy. There's times where I would tell people, I need you to move less and eat more to lose weight. And they're like, no, you said that wrong. And I said, no. I meant what I said. We're going to get your stress down and your body will respond to that. And so, some of it, yes, that mindset is what season am I into as an athlete? Like, am I in the off season? Am I trying to recover? Is this game day where I'm high competing? So you have to be able to treat some of that. And to Ryan's point, I learned that really well. Mine was different, as I actually did get fat. I stopped playing Division I football. I gained a lot of weight, and it's because I stopped identifying as an athlete. And I finally looked myself in the mirror and I was like, hold on. Like, I know better than this. Like, I'm still an athlete just because I don't play on Saturday afternoons anymore. I still got to compete for my business. I still compete for the people I care about. That's still me. Let's start acting like that. Instead of trying to lose 30 pounds in a month on a crash diet, let's just start acting like an athlete again so I can show up well. And then as a byproduct, the consistency kick back in. And I think people have to treat it like that first and not just start a program.
Yeah, I'd be curious what you think of this, Cole. You've been doing this long time. Ryan doesn't count because he's just always been healthy. He's got that gift, I guess. But when I look at my year of getting healthy, I want to say that 50% of my progress was because of walking greater than 10,000 steps a day. right? I brought down the cortisol. I wasn't stressing my body. I didn't do, 5 CrossFit workouts a week. I simply moved, I actually averaged 18,000 steps a day for a year. So I was, I've been known to
That's a
exceed.
lot.
Yeah, that's 3 hours a day for 365 days. But it literally was walking. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't sprint. It was just 3 hours of walking. If I did any running, it was on top of that. And I think that alone was 50% of my progress. Does that seem unreasonable?
It depends. So I would answer anybody that your nutrition matters more than any number of movement, because you can't outtrain the amount of calories. It's physically impossible. I can eat way faster, eat calories than I can burn them. But if all things being equal, the number one way you burn calories is not through a workout. You can only burn so much in a workout. It's what you burn throughout the day. It's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, burning calories. And so you doing walks, you getting up and moving around, it burns way more calories than you could in an hour or 2 hour workout. And so to your point, you were just moving so much throughout the day that you accelerated your metabolism and are burning a lot of calories. And that's honestly way better than you going to do intense workouts. And to your point, you brought your cortisol down. I currently am training for a sport, and so I don't train like this, but the best shape I've ever been aesthetically is when I was just lifting weights a couple times a week and just walking. Not when I pushed my body and did crazy HIIT workouts. I wasn't running. It was just consistency with nutrition, training, and walking.
Yeah. And you've run an ultra marathon too.
Crazy how your body responds.
That's like 100 miles.
Yeah, I did 100 miler. And so, I mean, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 100 mile just, in one day. It was a 28-hour run. I was in significantly better shape when I was just walking and lifting than when I was running hundreds of miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than when
again,
I played
a lot of us
football too. I mean, I had
Wow. And again, something I want, men and women to take from this. If most of us, I would say 99% of us want to look better in our clothes. And frankly, you want to look better naked. Let's not kid ourselves. You want to look better naked. So again, walking more, moving more, absolutely a home run. I'm a completely different person. I have before and after pictures, and I got to tell you, I have no idea how Olivia slept with me when I was that fat tub of goo, but thankfully she did. But it's much easier now. So that's cool. The other thing we just talked about that was really important for me at the beginning was tracking everything, right? You talked about your track, for me, it was tracking my calories, right? Via an online app. There's lots of them. Tracking the macros or the portions, fats, carbs, proteins. But also I wore an Oura ring. I actually wore an Oura ring for like 9 months, but I kept losing so much weight. It stopped fitting on my finger. So I had to, I gave it up, but that just shows the amount of fat I lost. But you got to know where you are. It's kind of like business stats, right? You got to figure out what the foods you're eating, what calorie intake, what portions. Again, guys, you got to know what's going in, and maybe tweak some of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wear a Whoop band, very similar. I have an Oura ring too. I just like the Whoop data better.
I have the Whoop.
Similar thing. Yeah. It's really, it falls in line with that markers. Blood work is a great way to get it. There's other testing too, but it's also understanding what's my body weight right now, what's my body fat percentage, and then being able to structure based off of all that data. What does my calorie intake need to be? What's the macronutrient, protein, carbs, and fat? What's the food timing as well? Because nutrition is really broken down into amount, the breakdown, and the timing. And so a lot of times there's strategic things you can do as timing of food that can be very important for you, specifically when we get into insulin resistance and all that stuff. And so, yes, the data is what matters. And a lot of people, they're just, basically, we answered 2 M's, markers and mindset. What we didn't say is the other 2 was meals and movement. If those aren't driven by markers, you're just guessing. And so it's good if you just go to meals and movement and you do better. You just don't know, because I've seen people that have set themselves up for failure, where I went really hard, I lost a lot of weight, but they also destroyed their metabolism in the process. And so they set themselves up to gain more weight in the long run, or to be really unhealthy. And so, yes, knowing the data and having a professional guide you in the data based off of your blood work is really where you do it in a way that I actually am boosting my metabolism while I'm losing body fat versus my metabolism is tanking, which sets you up for failure.
Let me add to this, because when I first started working with Cole's team, when I got my markers back, I was like, okay, the markers suck, but I kind of look pretty good. So what's next? And we can jump into the third M with meals. And it was interesting because beyond just the peptides and stuff like that, meals had to start playing. And so they were like, so what do you eat normally? And I go, honestly, for like the last bunch of years, I've just been following like a low carb diet. That's kind of how I stay in shape. Like I just kind of don't eat carbs. They're like, really? So, how much protein? I'm like, I eat about 1 gram per body weight. That's like a pretty standard thing.
Yep.
But, I don't really eat carbs much. I just kind of eat steaks and chicken and, I'll eat veggies and stuff like that. I might have like 1 carb a day. And a lot of times it's just ice cream. To be honest, like I just, that was how I would stay skinny, but still, whatever. Right. And they're like, okay, we're going to switch your meals up. You're going to eat a lot of carbs. I was like, I don't know if you heard me right. I want to get cut because I told them, I was like, I want to get like cut up and ripped. They're like, okay, so we're going to eat way more carbs than you eat. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Everyone who ever tells you to get cut, you cut carbs.
Yeah.
So anyways, I started eating all these carbs and dude, I was so full. I was like, this is a lot of food, man. But it wasn't even really that many calories. It was like 2,500 calories or something. And it felt like so filling. And sure enough, I cut fat and I put on size. It was like my muscles started to fill, more. And it was just like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you got to watch these markers and really have somebody coach you. Cause that's the big thing. Most of us are just guessing. Right. We have heard things, and certainly if you're an athlete, you've heard things like low carb diet and, all those things. You got to have one gram of protein per pound of body fat or whatever, these rumors that we hear about. But yeah, you've really got to have a professional guide you through these. Cause I had the same thing. I was definitely heavy on the protein side, not a lot of carbs. And it's like, you need some of that. And again, just adding some of that just fired up the metabolism. And you're right. Your muscles get full with glycogen and all of that. It was a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's cool about some of the testing we do too is we'll have clients that are hardcore keto, like, it's my jam. It's got me in great shape. My first response is, well, there's a reason why you didn't stay in great shape, but we'll deal with that later. But they're like, this is the way it always works for me. This always works for me until it doesn't. But we find out that they're actually fat sensitive, meaning their body doesn't process fats as well as it does carbs based off their DNA. Ooh. And so we're able to, let's decrease your fats and actually give you more carbs, and their body responds better to the same calorie intake, which is new. It's newer data that most trainer people just never had access to, that calories are still king, but the partitioning of the calories makes a big difference in how your body processes those and even how you feel too. And so for guys like Ryan, giving them a higher carb intake, you get more energy. You said the glycogen effect and the water effect of pulling that in the muscles. But we've had clients that have been hardcore keto that actually end up losing more sustainably body fat and feel better when they add carbs in. But we've also got people that, hey, we got to cut your carbs down because of your insulin resistance. So it's not a one size fits all. I think that's why it's so important to have the markers done, so you can actually see that.
So I'm curious, what are because again, one part of this is timing of meals. What do you think about intermittent fasting? One of the things that I did in my health journey is I actually started it with a 3-day fast, right under the guides of a doctor's like, hey, we're going to just 3 days, no eating, just water. Don't know what you think of that. What do you think of intermittent fasting? I would eat 12 to 8 or 12 to 7, something like that. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting?
Yeah, in general, it's a great tool. Especially when you're trying to cut calories because you just have less time to eat. But to me, it's always in that order. So your volume of calories is the most important. And the problem with intermittent fasting, a lot of our people, when we give them clean whole foods, that intermittent fasting window is not enough time because they feel so full, even on a low calorie diet. Like Ryan said, I'm so full all the time. If I cut your window down, it makes it even harder. So I think it's, calorie volume is the most important, then the macronutrients, and then the timing. And so if we can get the first 2 down, then we can start to tweak some of the timing stuff and mess with how your body responds to insulin, mess with your metabolism. For most people, it's easier to not worry about it and let's just get the numbers in, unless we've got some insulin resistance issues and then we want to mess with fasting. That's just usually unless there's no data saying that we need it. I don't mess with fasting until we can fix some of the habits, unless again, there's some trying to fix. So I think it's a great tool, but it's not as important as volume of calories in the macros.
All right. Ryan, have you ever done a 3-day fast?
I've done a 5-day.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I've done it's funny, I do fast for spiritual reasons, and I think that the the physical effect is a great byproduct of it. But it's funny because the Bible has been telling people to fast for 2,000 years, and it's like, oh, fasting's actually good for the body. It's like, well, yeah, God knew that. So it's interesting. When I used to do a 3-day fast once a quarter. That was kind of my cadence.
Okay.
And then at one quarter, I was like, I'm just going to try 5 and just see how it goes. And I'll tell you, by day 5, I could have went, I don't even know how long. I wasn't hungry at that point. My body had like normalized, and it was like, hey, what, if you want to keep doing this, you can. But I just was like, yeah, 5 is what I'm doing.
5
and so,
done. Yeah.
I'm done. But dude, I love fasting. I mean, I love it spiritually. I love it physically. Obviously you are going to lose weight. You're going to detox, all those things. You're going to get mental clarity. The biblical way, for anyone wondering, is just whenever you're supposed to eat, you actually instead pray and spend time with God. So it's like, well, I was going to spend, 20, 30 minutes eating a meal anyways. Let me spend 20, 30 minutes with God instead. So, it also adds more hours to your day, because you don't realize how much time you spend a day eating.
Yeah, very cool. Well, let's get to the 4th M. I believe the 4th M is movement. Again, when we're talking to people, going on this journey, what does movement really mean, Cole?
Yeah, it's how's my body training and how am I recovering, to be intentional to make sure I'm repairing from that training. What people don't often know, as a side note, is muscle is not built in the gym. It's built when it repairs after the gym. And a lot of people just try to outwork and grow. That's for people that want to build. But the same thing with fat loss too, is if I'm not properly recovering, it's really hard for my body to efficiently burn fat. If I'm living under high stress, like we talked about. And so sleep matters, water intake matters, rest matters, all for those things. And so, but overall, when we talk about movement, it's taking that data on my body, which a lot of that data can actually tell us how to train too. Is, do I respond better to high intensity cardio, to low intensity cardio, to strength training, to explosive movements? Our muscles are all wired a little differently, but am I training in a way that responds to my body type? But second, actually fits a normal schedule that I can stay consistent with. Like, I'm a business owner that is running businesses and want to show up for my family. I don't want to spend 10 hours a week in the gym. I want to be able to do this efficiently. And so we try to create a process that is consistent. You can fit it into your life. It's a couple hours a week plus some walks, and something people can stay with long-term. But then also, how am I recovering again, so that, that repair process can happen. And a lot of it is a mindset thing too, is am I going to schedule my training like I do a meeting for my business and just set it on auto repeat? And so make sure I'm prioritizing those things. But movement should be shaped again around data on what does my body actually need, and you shouldn't overdo it. Unless you're training for a sport and you're trying to be a pro athlete, then you should just find a consistent way to get my body what it needs to be healthy and build muscle, but not spend 10 hours a week in the gym.
Yeah. Ryan, I'm curious, you've always been a professional athlete. You've always seen yourself as an athlete. What if anything changed in your movement patterns? Are you still doing the same things you were doing at 22 now that you're old and 37?
What's funny is I'm actually stronger now than back then, but that's also, what happens when you can take performance enhancing drugs now and you couldn't when you're playing. So it all helps. But nonetheless, I actually I'm kind of the opposite of you, Zoobs. I hate cardio, dude. My steps are very bad. They're sub 10,000. But man, I am consistent as heck about getting my workouts in. And
you're a morning guy, right?
I'm a morning guy. I lift 4 times a week. I'll do the incline treadmill walk for like 15 minutes in like a 12 pace, whatever it is, 12 miles or 12 incline.
Degrees. Yeah.
Yep. And then 4 is my speed.
Okay.
And I'll do that for 15 minutes, and I'll do it like 4 times a week. And and then I golf a couple times a week too. So that's kind of like
but you're taking a cart. You're taking a cart.
I take a cart,
okay.
so, but I'm going to Pinehurst this weekend and we're going to walk the course. And so it's going to be good.
There you go. Ryan, you can walk golf courses. That'll get you 10,000 steps.
Do you know what's funny is I actually really enjoy walking golf courses more. I released a video for M19. We were in South Carolina, Kiawah Island. And so we walked to the ocean course, and I was on camera. I was like, dude, I actually prefer to walk. Like, it is so beautiful just walking the course. The problem is in Vegas, most courses actually won't let you.
That's true. Yeah.
Pace of play, they won't let you do it. So
yeah,
I would walk if I could all the time.
There you go. Well, let's talk about some hacks. Again, I'll share with you my hacks. Maybe you guys have some. This is what I learned through the year. These are like little hacks that helped me on my year of getting healthy. The first one is most people have a problem eating enough protein. At least that's what my doctor was telling me. And thanks to Chris Williamson and his podcast, I found this completely magical device called the Ninja Creamy. And it allows me to take a quart of yogurt, right? Vanilla yogurt, protein powder, and muscle milk. Again, just all heavy protein. And I basically get 50 grams of protein ice cream. And I have that literally every day after dinner. It's my treat, but it's just 50 grams of protein. I think the Ninja Creamy is freaking black magic.
Davila bought me one. I haven't used it yet.
Oh, it is a hack about all hacks. I actually told him
it's so good.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, I got you it for Christmas. It's March right now. I literally
still in the box.
There was this box in my house. I go, what is this box? And they're like, Brian bought it for you. And it said, I didn't see what it was. It said Ninja. I was like, what did he buy me a Ninja thing for? And he literally told me this like a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. He goes, did you ever like start using the ice cream maker I got you? I go, what ice cream maker are you talking about? He goes, it's a Ninja ice cream maker. And I was like, why'd you buy me an ice cream maker? I can just buy ice cream. And he goes, no, bro, it's like protein ice cream. And I was like,
bro, protein ube.
I know. And I'm like, come on, but I have to make it. I don't want to do that.
Dude, it takes 5 minutes in a blender, and then you pour them in, and they freeze overnight. I think you can handle.
But where do I get what's the recipe? I don't know.
Three ingredients: a quart of ice cream, quart of yogurt. I use vanilla. I like vanilla. Whatever you want.
Like Greek yogurt?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I use Chobani.
Okay, Chobani's great. I love Chobani.
Yep, Chobani. Okay, buy one of those. Then I take scoop like your favorite protein. I take 4 or 5 scoops of my favorite protein. And then I put in 2 muscle milks into a blender. It fills it up. I grind it. It creates 4 ice cream trays. Then you just
but muscle milk is protein.
I know. Protein. Are you not paying attention?
Okay. So you do a muscle milk shake, Greek
protein powder,
and then powder. That's it.
Yogurt, powder.
How does it make ice cream? I don't get it.
Well, you go home and have the wife put it in a blender, mix it up, pour it in those 4 containers. Freeze it overnight. It will come out and look like an ice cube.
Really?
And you will be telling me like Zuber's full of crap. But then
is it like a popsicle or is it ice?
Shut up for a minute. Then you take this popsicle like thing and you put it in the device. You throw it in the Ninja Creamy. You lock it in and you hit light ice cream. And 3 to 5 minutes later, it comes out and it's just this puffy ice cream. You eat it with a spoon. It's freaking magic.
Okay. I just
gotta find out
how to
get ube, and then I'll do it. Like, I'll be good. I just need like an ube protein powder, probably.
The first time I tried it was at Gary and Susan Harper's house, and they made me a bunch of different ones. They just used the Core Powers, which that's a hack. If you've never had Core Power 42-gram little drinks, clutch, those are my, there's better ways to get protein that are better for you. But if it's, if you're in a pinch, it's a great way to get it done. But they just pour that with ice and then throw it in the thing. And so, you can make super simple recipes, but it's so good. Yeah. And the texture is pretty close to ice cream too.
Yeah. It's just ice cream. And then if you really want to get crazy, you can put M&Ms or something in it just to chunk it up. Yeah. It's okay. So that's my hack.
I'm motivated. I'm going to open up the box.
Still in the box.
It's
I'll
not
start
open.
the process. I want to, before we get off, I want to talk a little about supplements and peptides and all that stuff. Cause I think it's kind of hacks, but I think there's some things people can understand there. But one for me is I am a person that struggles to not eat too much food. I just have naturally had a massive appetite. That's why I got fat when I stopped playing football, and I was still eating 5,000 calories a day, just wasn't running all day anymore. And I played receiver. And so all you do is run. The whole 2-hour practice, all you're doing is running. And so I burned off those calories. And so I've always struggled with keeping my appetite down. And so there's a hack that has helped me a ton if you're like that. because I get cravings. I want to eat all the sweets. I'm never full. And so what I do is I start my meals with protein and water first. So I'll drink a couple glasses of water, and then I will eat the protein first, and then I'll let it sit for a second, and then whatever I'm still left over, like hungry wise, I can dive into the carbs, whatever. Or I'll also, protein, water, and veggies. And then I will have room. Okay, then I can go for the carbs. Then I can, if there's room for dessert, that kind of thing. But I found if protein, waters, and veggies start the meal, by the time I've finished that and I let it sit for a second, I'll eat a little bit of carbs and I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then dessert,
Yeah.
I'm like, I actually don't need it because I feel full. But when you start to structure that way, and if I get hydrated and eat a good amount of protein first and let it sit, it's helped me a lot. And so instead of just me relying on willpower to resist the dessert or not eat too many of the carbs to stay within my numbers, I'll just fill up protein first. Another thing you can do is drink a protein shake before your meal too, like one of those core powers, just like 30 minutes before. And so it balances your insulin levels, which decrease cravings, but also it's settled a little bit. And so by the time I get to my meal, then I can eat like a normal human. So if you're like me and you just massive hunger and massive cravings, keeping on top of your protein, but then also starting meals with that too, has been a huge deal for me, especially when I travel a lot and like I'll go to these client dinners or these mastermind events and there's food everywhere. Like I have to stay ahead of that stuff. Ryan, you probably there's a guy named Eric Brewer, a good friend of mine as well, was one of our clients, lost a ton of weight. We started making him drink a protein drink like every 2 hours, even if he wasn't hungry. And by the time he used to just like blow his calorie number at the end of the day, just because he would get late night snacks and but when he started eating ahead of that stuff, he's like, I'm not even hungry anymore. I don't need a late night snack because he was getting enough protein in. So protein, I believe protein is like the all natural GLP-1. That's all I need. Like you eat enough protein, you don't get hungry and cravings. And it actually balances insulin levels too.
Love it. Ryan, I'm curious, do you have a hack or you just naturally focused and disciplined? Do you have any hacks for us normal people?
Dude, I actually do have a hack. And I've done everything you could imagine. I've done intermittent fasting and, these other things. But here's my hack. My hack is just get meal prep. And Cole's our company now does that for you. But so every Sunday, I get sent my breakfast and my lunch for the whole weekdays. And so really for me, I don't even have a choice or an option not to eat the proper amount of macros. And it saves a ton of time as a busy business guy. So every day I literally eat the same thing on the weekdays: breakfast, snacks, lunch. My EA brings in my 3 o'clock snack every day. So I have the same food literally all day. And I don't mind eating the same thing, but you can mix it up and get the same macros, but different meals if you want, diversity. And then for dinner, I'm not going to make my family eat meal preps. That's just not, it ain't going to fly. Okay. And so I'm the actual opposite of what you just said with Eric Brewer. I purposely kind of under eat throughout the day so I could slam at night with my family. And so, I have a big freaking dinner. And then up to this point, I would have a late night ube ice cream, but now I'm going to have the Ninja. And so it's going to be even better. So that's my hack is if you want to enjoy, let's just say the sweets or a big dinner, because it's like a familial thing. Okay, well, just hack your way through the rest of the day and just properly
bank the calories.
Yeah. Makes sense. I think meal prep, meal prep is a hack. One of the things that you would know about my year of getting healthy is I ate the same 8 things. Right. It's just like meal prep. Like I had a, grass-fed ribeye steak 5 days a week for dinner. And when I didn't have that, I had chicken breast. And again, I ate 8 or 10 things all year. I was lucky enough. I didn't have kids at home. So, Olivia was cool cooking her own thing. So yeah, definitely meal hack.
Hey, Zuber, can I add this too? So this is also an interesting thing. Like I said, I've kind of been similar weight for a long time. And I think once your body gets into a rhythm, it just naturally stays that side. And you my hunger and appetite are naturally to stay this size. I think obviously if you got to lose a bunch of weight, you're going to go into a deficit and it is what it is. You're going to have to eat at a deficit to lower to where you want to be. But then once you get to your, let's call it your peak state, that you want to be in, it actually gets a lot easier, because then it's just like maintenance at that point forward.
Yeah. Well, let's get to peptides. This was something my doctor gave me at the mid-year point, about 6 months into the journey. I was already down probably 25, 30 pounds of fat, not really adding much muscle, but he put me on, I believe it's called tesamorelin, about June of last year. And for me, obviously it helped with muscle building, but at 53, it helped my joints. It made recovery from, a hard workout. I felt like I was 25. Usually a hard workout over 53, you need 2 days before the joints kind of feel normal again. And I was better by the next day. It was noticeable. And, that was the only one I was on. I know there's, BPC and all these other ones now, but peptides are, not to be slept on. I'm okay not starting there, right? If you got a big health journey you're on, but if you want to amplify and kind of get that next level, I don't know why you wouldn't, frankly.
It's huge. And I think it's important for everybody to understand, because you get a lot of hate online. Hey, Ryan even said he used to hate on the people who he saw did it before. It's important to note that if our world, our food supply, our habits, if everything was optimal, we wouldn't need these things. Even when you eat healthy and you take care of your body and you move consistently, there's still a large chance that your hormones are not optimized, because our food quality is junk. Our water quality is terrible. Like I could get all crazy into the conspiracies behind that stuff. I think there's a system behind it, but it's not optimal for us. And so I think there's no shame in saying, what would it take for me to get how God actually designed me to function? And there's a range of testosterone that your body is supposed to be in an optimal range. And if you're not there in a natural way, which there's some ways to naturally boost it with, your rest and recovery, with the right foods, with the right training, but at some point our system is so broken that people need that. And so I think that, things like hormone replacement can be a big game changer for people who need it. But peptides too is really like this new frontier of they actually got a lot more approved this last week to be sold as actual prescriptions instead of research chemicals. Peptides are amino acids, which are basically proteins broken down that are just put back in your body and tell your body to function the way it's supposed to. And so it's a healthy thing that your body already makes, that you're putting back in to say, hey, do more of that thing. That thing is good. And so it's a game changer for me. Like I'm on BPC 157. I have a torn meniscus, and I've just started it 3 days ago again. And my knee feels, I was just thinking about that as we were talking. I was like, man, my knee hasn't bothered me in the last day or two. Just taking 3 days worth. It usually takes like a week or so, but maybe it's placebo. But like I've done this multiple times. Those things make a significant difference. But why not? Like if there's a tool that's healthy and is proven to be healthy, and it's just a natural product that my body already makes, why not use that to accelerate my results? And it can do anything from lose fat, gain muscle, grow hair, get you tan, make your skin better, better sleep. There's a lot of tools, but if I have it available to me, and it's why not?
Yeah. Again, you definitely need professional advice and assistance. This is not something you go on the street.
Let me add two things to that too. One is I used to not have a beard. Okay. Now I got a beard. All right. Yeah. So like peptides and stuff can like do some cool stuff. But two, the FDA has recently like started regulating peptides really heavily. And that's a sign that obviously they work, because the FDA probably wants you to be sick and be on pharmaceuticals and stuff. But like there are a lot of weird companies selling peptides that are like very gray market.
Yeah.
And so, and you can just buy them online. Yeah. And you have no idea where they're, made or compounded, or like really what's even in them. Like, so you definitely need to make sure you're using the right doctors who know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely don't do this on your own, folks. Absolutely. Yeah.
No. Well, very RFK cool. Just saw an article that RFK was telling someone on a podcast that there's 14 banned peptides that have been banned by the FDA, that he's going back and making sure they unban them. So, to Ryan's point, the FDA has been trying to restrict stuff that actually can help us. That's not medication that we have to be on forever. And RFK's fine. No. Like these things work. We're going to make them available to the public. And so, that's good signs that we're moving in the right direction.
I like it. Well, you guys are doing lots of things. Again, I do believe a lot of people that watch this channel want to have a dream life, and that obviously includes a dream body. Again, I went through a year of this, guys. You watched me. My Dr. Jeff and I did quarterly calls with all of them. There's a playlist on their channel called biohacking. That's what Dr. Jeff calls them, what he does, biohacking. I'm a true believer in it. Again, a lot of this is discipline focused, but you need guidance. You definitely need blood work, right? We talked about earlier, you need blood work. Might as well work with somebody that's been doing this for a while, has lots of testimonials and the like. Guys, if somebody wanted to learn more about what you two are doing, where do they go?
Yeah, so right now they can go to boardroom-athlete.com. So boardroom-athlete.com. The name's actually going to change here later, but for now, that's what they can go to. And I would just say it is full. Like I said, I was a client of Cole's for years, and now we're partners, and I'm super excited about it. But like everything we just talked about, it is full one-on-one concierge service. So, you know, the moment you sign up, we get your blood work done. We get you with multiple doctors, get you whatever peptides and recommend whatever you need. That's like actually a need for you based on your goals and what your markers say. Get you custom workouts based on your goals, get you custom nutrition based on your blood and your DNA and all these things. And so everything is very custom one-on-one.
Cole, you want to leave us with closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think the thing that I always encourage people when it comes to their health is a phrase that I had a mentor tell me one time. He said, wake up before the wake up call. Like before you actually have to deal with it, deal with it now. You know, I lost my dad in high school from a heart failure. And, you know, I wish he would have done something about his health before the heart attack happened. And there could have been something done. Maybe not everybody listening to this isn't at risk for a heart attack, but maybe you go another 10 years and you feel junky. Like maybe you miss out on a bunch of opportunities. And so my thought would be, instead of waiting until you have to change, why not be proactive and pursue growth and say, let me fix it now and create a better life, a dream life on the other side, versus waiting till I have to. It's a much better way for me to be in control and a lot better life.
Folks, what I'll tell you at the end of the day, I said it earlier in the episode, I just think it's kind of catchy. This is all about looking better naked. Let's just look better naked for your spouse and whatnot.
Yeah, you'll have more sex too.
Yeah, more sex. That's not a bad thing.
I tell people, I'm like, bro, you want to have more sex?
There you go. That's right. Look better naked. Let's go. Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for all you do. Have some fun. Business athlete. That was a new one for me. I like that. Very cool. Thanks, guys.